Right then people, today we're going to give you a little video on our extreme mousses and our two factory mousses, and we've also got Charlie Frost here, and he's going to give you a little insight on the tough one and the Spec B. The extreme mousse is the most durable, most stability, but it's got a smaller footprint due to the volume of the mousse.
This is a 25% mousse. Now, the reason it's called 25% is, as you can see, the top layer has shaven off the top of it. So compared to the other factory mousse we're going to get onto, this is 25% mousse. Now, it has extra grip over the extreme mousse, but it's less durable, obviously, because it's not got as much mousse to it, but it still has good stability with all the other mousses. This is the factory 50% mousse. As you can see, it's 50% because half the mousse is gone. Now, this mousse offers the max footprint, but it does unfortunately offer the least amount of durability, as you can see, because it's not going to last the whole year. Some riders try and put a mousse in a bike and try and expect it to last like 3 or 4 months. I've used this mousse myself since Valleys, and I've done 5 events on it, and as you can see, it's still intact and it offers insane amounts of grip. But dependent on your budget, obviously, depends what mousse you want to run. But for most extreme events, I do recommend the 50% factory flat mousse.
Depending on your budget and your skill level and what you like, these are the mousses we have. So now we're going to have Charlie give us a little insight on the tough one and the Spec B, and what mousse you use with each tyre on what terrain.
So this side we've got the tough one. Now the tough one is probably the most common tyre that most people use. This has got a 13mm tread block. Now, I'd recommend this tyre for most rocky events, so people in the UK will be familiar with Tong, Calm, all those sorts of places. It's a tricky one because Tong is a mixture of woods and rock, whereas Calm is just fully rock. So we've obviously got an extreme event coming up in a few weeks' time. So I would personally use the tough one rear tyre with the factory 50% mousse, because with the half mousse, obviously it's going to give you as much sort of footprint inside that tyre. But obviously the difference between the Spec B and the tough one is the Spec B with the higher tread blocks is not going to sit on the rocks as nice, whereas the tough one, when it splays itself out on top of the rock, it's going to give you much more grip compared to the Spec B. So I know we've also got the extreme mousse and the 25% mousse, but for me personally, for going into Calm, should we say, I'd run the tough one rear tyre with the factory 50 mousse. So with the tough one, obviously I haven't spoken about the 50% mousse, talking about the 25% mousse. So this one I would use in the tough one for a day training in Wales, because with the 50% mousse, obviously it's not going to last as long, so I personally try and save my factory 50 mousse for the main British events or any big events coming up. But this mousse, the 25%, you can use in the tough one or the Spec B, but like I say, if I'm training a day in Wales, I'll use the tough one with the 25% mousse, because obviously it's going to last longer and it's quite rocky in places, so you don't want to be smacking your rim and denting your rim into the rocks. So personally for me, I put the 25% mousse in the tough one tyre for a long day out in Wales, because like I said, you're not going to knacker your 50% factory mousse. So this side we've got the Spec B, well, the tough one Spec B. Now this one's got a 15mm tread block, so compared to the tough one with 13mm, we've got an extra 2mm of tread. Now this is really sort of a big thing in the grassy, muddy conditions. So going back a few weeks ago, we did the Ball Breaker, which was the British Extreme Round, and I ran the Spec B tyre with my factory 50 mousse. Well, it was actually this mousse itself. Now I've done, like I said, 4 or 5 events, this is still intact, but compared to the other lads, I ran that and I couldn't fault it, because with the Spec B, you've got the extra few mil of tread on the blocks, which digs into the grass, but I also had the footprint of the factory 50 mousse. So when I was on the rocky stuff, which to be honest, there wasn't much rock in it, it was flat and compressed, but on the grass I had that extra knobble to dig into the grass compared to the tough one, which still would have done the job. But personally, when I fitted this Spec B and the factory 50 mousse, I had no complaints the whole event, and to be fair, I had loads of grip. The Spec B personally would be more muddier conditions, so the difference between the tough and the Spec B is that extra knobble needs to dig in.
These two tyres here are both extreme tyres, they're both the same compound. The tough one is a 13mm, the Spec B is a 15mm, that's the only difference.
So now we're going to demonstrate how to fit the tyre and mousse onto a wheel. Now depending on what event you do, I normally run 2 or 3 rim locks, depending on flat mousse, tyre, event, fast, slow, whatever. So Sid's going to demonstrate here how to fit a tyre with 2 rim locks, and then we're going to show you how to do it 3 rim locks. Now there's different ways, I mean everyone's got their own like procedures of doing it, but Sid's going to show you how he does it, fitting with 2 rim locks. Now if you have a quick look at the wheel here, you can see what we do is we position the rim locks opposite sides each other. That basically spreads out the grip, should we say, on the rim locks, because by standard you get 2 holes that come in the wheel. Normally you get the valve hole and the rim lock hole. So this hole up here doesn't exist, so we've drilled this. The problem is, if you fit the 2 rim locks there side by side, you've got all this space around the wheel where there's no grip, so it's more like the tyre's going to spin on the rim, especially with a soft tyre and mousse setup. So what we do, well, most people do, is we'll get a drill and we'll drill a hole completely opposite where the first initial rim lock is, so it spreads out the grip. Now when we do the next video, it's going to show you the 3 rim locks. We've got 1, 2 and 3. But just for now, for this video, Sid's going to show you how to fit the tyre mousse with just the 2 rim locks, which are basically 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock.
So now I'm going to fit the tyre with 3 rim locks. So what I do first is sit it on the first rim lock and push it on with my knees. And then we get the tyre over the rim. Flip it over and get it on the second rim lock. And then what we're going to do is put the third rim lock in now. Right, now the tyre's on and all 3 rim locks are in, so now we're going to go and fit the mousse in. Now the mousse is all in, we're going to fit the bead onto the rim. Now the tyre's on the rim and on the bead, we're going to go around and tighten all the rim locks up.